Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Generation X Nation. First things first, I want to thank everyone who has listened to my channel, viewed my videos, left a comment, liked my videos. Keep doing that. I definitely appreciate it. And to all my new subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. Share, 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 and like. Tell a friend to tell a friend, tell a friend, okay? I'm trying to get this channel to grow over here, and you people are really a little slow helping me, but we'll get there. And again, what's for me is for me. I'll just let God handle that. Now, with that being said, we're going to discuss the reunion, Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. If you don't know anything about my channel, the first thing I will always say is everything is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. My commentary is only and solely based off week to week episodes. So whatever I see that week, that's what I commentate on. I do not have a dog in this fight. I don't have a particular favorite cast member. If you are mean or nasty to somebody that week, I'm going to say you are mean and nasty. If you're nice to somebody the next episode, I'm going to say you were nice that episode. I do my commentary based on what you give me back on the TV screen. And I do consider that everything is edited. So I know there are situations that may not look as they seem based on how they edited. Okay? Now, let's get into this Real Housewives reunion real quick. I'm going to make this as short as I can because there wasn't a lot going on other than everybody versus Porsha outside of the whole Angela slash Phaedra thing at the end. So we'll go through the looks. The first looks that came, they walked out with their nice gowns on. And I did notice when Porsha came out, Shamia had a certain look on her face, and they panned to her twice. It was a look, and I don't know if it was a look when Porsha came out exactly, but the way they edited it, she looked at Porsha, and it wasn't like, oh, my friend. It was like, that kind of look. Okay. Now, my opinion, the three best people at the reunion was Porsha, absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if she had naked hair, but if she did, she looked absolutely gorgeous with her hair. Okay. The next person up was Shamia. Love the bob. She was absolutely gorgeous. And then for some reason, I like Drew. Didn't particularly like the way her wig was sitting. It was something off about it. But Drew was absolutely gorgeous too. And I always thought Drew was a beautiful girl. Now, I will give Phaedra an honorable mention because I didn't know what was on her head at first. And then when she said it was she was paying respect to Grenada and the festival they went to, then it made sense. So I didn't really like the head thing, but I understood why she did it. So I will give her an honorable mention. That is it for the fashions as far as I'm concerned. Now, from what I gathered, we have Porsha versus Drew, Porsha versus Brit, and then there was a Porsha versus Angela. And if you notice, they had all the new girls outside of Drew. I don't know why, but she was over there with the new girls. They had Shamia, Brit, Angela, and Drew on one couch. And then they had Porsha, who's apparently the queen because she was next to Andy, and Phaedra and Cynthia. And I said, oh, this is kind of like OGs, like original OGs versus some of these newbies outside of Drew. Because Drew is not, in my opinion, not a newbie. I mean, she's been on there a few seasons now, so she's not a newbie. But anyway, it seemed to me all the questions Andy was asking was directed at Porsha. The first thing he came out, he did mention, okay, Britt did not show up. All the ladies seemed shocked. They had all been looking for her. Had anybody heard from Britt? Nobody said anything. But Phaedra did say something like, hey, this is a sisterhood. And if you're going through something, you could have called, let somebody know. You could have came here and got it resolved or whatever. So I think Phaedra was a little disappointed that Britt didn't show up, which I was surprised, but I do appreciate the fact that Phaedra did answer as a level-headed person. Now, Porsha was in her protect her peace mode, And I appreciate that because she came on that show, basically seemed like very calm. She wasn't the rah rah Porsha we all remember from all the other seasons. So, she said I talked to Britt that night, and everybody gave that strange look again. And, they was like, well, what did she say? And she said, hey, she said she would, she seemed like she was coming and she was, happy about the husbands being here. I believe Porsha because it was something about Porsha, this particular reunion, that the vibe I was getting that Porsha came in peace and she wanted to get things resolved. Now, Britt, don't know what made you at the last minute not show up because Portia said she spoke to you, but she didn't say whether you were actually in New York. I mean, well, you was they did it in Atlanta. She didn't say if you actually said you was coming or not. She just said that you was excited about the husbands being there. So I guess she felt that meant y'all would show up. Whatever happened between that night and the next morning, something took place that Britt decided not to go. I don't know if somebody had a conversation with her and said, hey, if you come, they're going to be attacking you. They're going to be asking you about this and that. It seemed like Britt chickened out. That's all I get out of it. And you can say you didn't, Britt. If you didn't, you better go somewhere and defend yourself. But it seemed like you chickened out because we seen a picture of you on social media, Instagram, with your little gown on, talking about what you would have worn at the reunion. So apparently you planned on going. So what made you chicken out? That's the question. And I'm going to say chicken out because you didn't show up and stand 10 toes down. Everybody else came in there and took whatever beating they had to take, but you did. So we'll get past the Brit thing. Well, one last thing. Kelly accuses Britt of not showing up because everywhere she goes, she causes mass destruction. And then she ends up being the villain and the victim at the same time. And that is Britt's mentality. I thought that was pretty odd for Kelly to say that, considering Britt came on her as her friend, her road dog. And then Drew, her last comment about Britt was, well, I mean, I don't have much to say about her because, according to her, you know, she's about a lot of lies and lawsuits, and she's apparently trying to sue me for something I said on the podcast. We'll leave that like that. Porsha, like I said, came in peace. They started questioning Portia. First person they started talking about was the whole Drew situation, her family with Dennis. And Portia said, hey, we had conversations. I understood, what was going on. I told Dennis, you are my storyline, you are my family. And she didn't want her family with Drew. And Drew was like, hey, I told the cameras follow me wherever I'm going. Drew, I have an issue with that because based on what y'all say in these interviews about filming for reality TV, they call you up and tell you we're going to be filming here or we're going to be filming there, or you tell them where you're going to be at. So they know where you're going to be when that camera shows up. So you knew you was going to be in the studio with Dennis. So they knew you was going to be there with Dennis, and you knew you was going to be there with Dennis, and you knew the camera was going to be there. So don't act like the camera just following you around and you popped up to the studio and Dennis is sitting there. No, you knew, hey, I got to meet Dennis at the studio at 4 o'clock. The cameras is like, hey, where are you going to be today? I'll be at such and such studio at 4 o'clock. And you knew Dennis would be in that studio. So don't act like you didn't know they weren't going to be recording you and Dennis together. I'm not buying that. I like you, Drew, but I'm not buying that because y'all have already told us how this works. Y'all told us that. You say, hey, the production company or the producers say, hey, we're going to meet at such and such restaurant. Who's going to be there? A, B, C, and D. And then maybe a surprise guest will show up that y'all know about, but you know you're going to be at that restaurant at a certain time to film. So in my opinion, you knew you was going to the studio. You knew the cameras would be following you that day, and you knew Dennis would be in the studio. So don't act like you didn't know that y'all wasn't going to be filming together. I'm not buying that, Drew. I mean, it's just like Portia sat right there and admitted that she filmed with Ralph just to piss you off. So if Portia knew she was filming with Ralph, you knew you was filming with Dennis. So take that lie somewhere else, Drew. I'm just going to be honest. Other than that, kudos to you, Portia, for the way you controlled yourself. They were throwing daggers at you, and I think you did a good job by not breaking. All right, we're going to talk about Portia and Kelly. Portia and Kelly relationship started. You remember when Kelly asked Portia, Why did she steal that lady's husband? And Porsha said, hey, you came at me, didn't even know me. And you're going to ask me a question like that. And then Kelly going to say, well, I was just doing it out of concern. Stop lying, Kelly. You was doing it out of trying to make your mark on that show. You wasn't concerned. You was being messy. Let's just be honest. At that time, you and Britt were, ace coon boons, two peas in a pod, and y'all came in there with fire. Y'all wanted to bring it to everybody. You had smoke for everybody. Brittany had smoke for Kenya. You had smoke for Porsha. And after all was said and done, you and Porsha resolved it out. Y'all had a conversation, and according to Porsha, it was squashed. She let it go. And then later on, you still coming back at Porsha. And I'm like, well, what did Porsha really do to you, Kelly? And Portia's sitting here saying, you know what? I tried to make things better and resolve it with you because I understood we were both going through the same process and she meant divorce. And then you came in here like, I was married for 11 years. You were married for one. So it's not the same. It's apples and peaches. And of course, Phaedra looked like, is she talking about the Housewives of New York, which they're known to carry the apple in their hand and you guys carry peaches. I thought that was funny. But, you saying it's different. And I'm like, well, it's different, but it's not different. What she's saying is more of the emotional, the physical thing and the mental thing you go through in a divorce. She's saying that was similar. You both have children. You both had husbands who apparently had went to jail. Yours went to jail. You said he got locked up for not paying child support or something. You both had husbands who was messing with you guys financially. You both had husbands that was harassing you guys on social media. That's what she meant similar. She wasn't saying that y'all were married the same amount of time. She was saying you were both going through the same emotional trauma of a divorce. And you just had to throw that dagger in there that y'all divorces was different. That's what we're talking about. Once again, somebody else who's after Porsha for no reason. I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. So Andy again asked Kelly about her relationship with Britt and all of that. And again, she says, Britt is messy. They used to be friends. Britt didn't have a team, a stylist, or anything when she started the show. She let her use her people. Britt did tell something about her personal life. She asked her he asked her where did she get the information from. Allegedly, she got it from, I guess, one of her team of people, her stylist or hairdresser. Somebody told Britt, and Britt threw it back in her face on camera. I think Britt was wrong for that, Kelly, but I still believe that was something you guys could have worked through had Britt showed up to the reunion. And she basically said she'll never be friends with her. Now, this is a lesson learned on these reality shows. When you go to these reality shows with your best friend, be careful. We done seen this happen over and over again. People get on shows with people they are their best friends with, and for some reason, you lose that friendship. And y'all have been best friends for years. Look at Shami and Porsha, been best friends apparently since they were teenagers. Do not let these reality shows ruin a friendship because long after that show is gone, you may not even get a contract next season and you no longer have your friend. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Kelly, whatever you need to do, sit down with Britt, work it out. I personally think Britt needs therapy, but I don't know if she knows that. But it's definitely something not clicking with her. But I'm going to leave her out of it again because she's not at the reunion to defend herself. So we're going to move past Kelly. I don't think Kelly and Porsha really resolved their issues for now, but I think they have a better understanding of where they fit in each other's lives, which is pretty much nowhere. Last but not least, let's talk about Angela. Angela got it in for Phaedra. I don't know why. Andy starts questioning Angela. Angela did admit that she mentioned that lady's husband to Porsha because Porsha said something about sleeping with her husband when they was in Nashville. I don't know what is going on with Angela and Charles. And as I said in previous videos, you guys know I go week by week commentary. Angela and Charles have been my favorite couple this whole season. They need to be on the show. I love them there. They give some kind of comedic type vibe to the show. I just think Charles is funny, but I also think he a little sneaky. Angela, If Charles have not has not cheated on you or isn't cheating, why you always bring it up? She accused my husband of cheating. He accused me. I ain't seen no. Whenever a woman defends the cheating rumor that much, there is definitely some truth to it. And I hate to mention this show's name, but sometimes this show gives me flashbacks of Love and Marriage Huntsville. The way Letitia and Kimberly defends Marceau and Maurice cheating rumors. They will fight to the end to prove that their husband is not cheating. Angela, you gives me that same vibe. You will fight to the end to prove that Charles is not cheating. Baby, if he ain't cheating, just say he ain't cheating and move on. You don't have to prove anything to these women. They are not the people you lay down in bed with and wake up in the morning with. Charles is. Charles is a grown man who can defend himself. But it's something in my spirit that tells me when a woman defends a man's cheating or fights constantly about somebody mentioning their husband or boyfriend cheating, he probably is. Because you are too. That's a story that you could close. That's a story now you could close a long time ago and just say, look, don't bring it up no more because I told y'all once or twice. Don't talk about my marriage. Let it go. And if you'd have said that 10 toes down sternly, they wouldn't even mention it anymore. Now, they may mention it in a confessional or whatever, but they won't say it to your face. Charles doesn't give me he doesn't give me a vibe that he's cheating currently, but he definitely gave me a vibe that he's probably have cheated on you. I can tell. And last but not least, um, the way you attacked Phaedra about that guy Marcus. Again, in my video, I did a short on that, and you couldn't tell me Phaedra didn't have anything to do with it. You couldn't tell me that. Now that I know the guy is familiar with Phaedra's family. I ain't gonna say friends, but familiar with Phaedra's family. Um, kind of gives me I don't know, kind of gives me a vibe that she might have known, but not 100% sure. Because at the end of the day, I don't think Phaedra did do anything. Based on her vibes on this reunion, she seemed steadfast that I had nothing to do with this. But I always have in the back of my head, Phaedra's also a lawyer, and lawyers know how to play that poker face. But for some reason, I'm starting to think I was wrong, and I don't think Phaedra really had anything to do with it. I think that guy made up the storyline because when Angela brought out her receipts, and he said, I went to school with Phaedra's brother. Phaedra had, I guess it was four of them. She said it was four siblings. She went to school with a brother, knew one of Phaedra's sisters. And she's like, oh, it's only one high school in Athens, Georgia. And he knows your sister and he knows your brother. That don't mean crap. You got to remember, Angela, high school in most states is at least four grades, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Some schools have 10th, 11th, and 12th. This depends on how large the school district is. And I can tell you honestly, when I was a senior, I couldn't remember. You couldn't tell me half the. If a freshman walked up to me, I wouldn't know their name. If somebody walked up to me right now, if that was a freshman when I was a senior, say I went to school with you, I would not know. I probably don't even know them. Just because you go to the same school, don't mean you know everybody. There are plenty of people who went to the high school with me. I do not know personally, can't even remember their name, and couldn't pick them out of a crowd. I remember when Facebook first started, people was friend requesting me from my hometown that went to my high school. I had to go pull out my yearbook and look at their picture and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember them. I had to verify who they was because I forgot so many names back then and faces. And some people, once again, if they're not in the same grade as you that graduated with you, you're more likely to know the people in your graduating class than people who were underclassmen. So just because that guy attended Phaedra's high school is not proof that she knows the person. Okay? And then she said, oh, you tried to create this for a storyline. A storyline for what? She talking about you trying to secure your spot. Phaedra, like, I got a guaranteed contract. Angela, I love you to death, sis, but Phaedra ain't got to secure her spot on that show. She's an OG. If they didn't want her back, considering how she left, they would have never brought her back. Okay, so you didn't hit the mark on that one. I still love you, Angela, and I still like your husband Charles, and I hope y'all, I'm sure y'all be on the show next year. But you fighting Phaedra is probably going to get old, especially if you keep fighting her about a cheating rumor. Because now it's going to be where the internet detectives are going to start digging deep and finding some cheating stuff. Because I didn't see you and Charles's interview and what they were saying about him, and Charles did this and that, and how they felt he disrespected you, whatever. I just don't talk about certain things because sometimes it's just not really worth the energy. Enough people covered it. So, and last but not least, before I end this particular segment, um, you guys were accusing Shamia of introducing Simon to Phaedra. And I think that's wrong. But when you brought it up, I noticed Phaedra was, not Phaedra, I mean Porsha. Porsha was quiet and Shamia kind of stuttered, but she cleared it up when they rolled the film back. And Shamia said, I was around them when they met each other. Um, I was around them, when they were dating. She did give Portia a warning to make sure she thoroughly vet Simon, and Portia did admit that. But saying that I was around them when they met is not the same as introducing them. So Portia never admitted that Shamia introduced them, but at the same time, Shamia never used the word introduction. She just said I was around them when they met, which is weird because we remember Portia going to Fallon's house on the previous show, and I assume Fallon introduced Portia to her husband. Now maybe they went out afterwards and Simon popped up and Portia was there and oh yeah, that's Simon from yeah, I remember him. He's so and so husband. Maybe it was that type of thing. But Portia seemed like she already knew Simon. I want to say Shamia might have been in that episode with them at Fallon's house. So don't accuse Shamia of doing that because it makes it look like she's a home wrecker, and I don't think Shamia is that. Outside of that, hopefully next week some other people will get the heat because they tried their best to break Portia down. Portia, again, keep protecting your peace. You did an excellent job not letting them ladies get to you. Angela, if you don't stop talking about Charles cheated or didn't cheat, or stop accusing my husband of cheating, the internet detectives are going to come out and they're going to get some fake chick to come around and say she's been having an affair with Charles for 5 or 10 years and he pay all her bills. They do it all the time. Yeah, you might want to pull back on this Charles cheating thing. If the Marcus popped up, next time you see Marcus, he going to pop up with a female doing a whole interview like Martell and Ariel. I'm sorry. Kelly, look back on what you said to Portia. I think you took it the wrong way. She definitely was saying you guys were both in the same mental state, going through the divorce, having to raise children, being a single mom, getting your finance together. There wasn't no harm. Drew, look back on what you did to Portia. You know doggone well that you definitely knew you were going to be filming with Dennis if you knew you had an appointment at the studio. If I am mistaken, like you said, those studio hours cost money. You knew your appointment time and how many hours you had at that studio, and you knew the cameras was coming. And you knew Dennis was going to be there. So you knew that you was going to be filming with Dennis. Don't lie. Let's just keep it real. Don't lie. Kelly, for whatever reason, you and Britt are still at each other's throat. Go find your friend and make amends. Don't let this show destroy another friendship like the Porsche and Shamia friendship. And I hope they eventually work that out. And with that being said, this is Generation X Nation. Thank you guys for listening to my commentary. Like, subscribe, like, subscribe. I know I didn't go in too hard this time because, in my opinion, really wasn't much to see on the reunion, but the breakdown of how everybody got to where they are right now. And like I said earlier, please, on the next part 2, not to be so much Portia coordinated, but maybe bring some other people in. I hope Andy does that. Portia, good luck to you on the reunion because they seem to be after you, child, you and Phaedra. And with that, you guys go like, subscribe, share, and you have a great rest of your day. This is Gen X Nation. Peace, and I'm out.